best in music
and the very latest news. This is the station listeners choose. This is radio station WRSU, coming your way to serve you throughout the day.
According to an article that appears on radiosurvivor.com, quote, radio stations at universities were particularly important because they pioneered some of the earliest experiments with radio in the United States, and they played a key role in the establishment of an alternative, non-commercial public service model for broadcasting. End quote. In particular, the first radio station established at Rutgers University began in April of 1948 and still exists today as WRSU. This is only one factor that illustrates the importance of music culture on college campuses.
Last question. At the radio station, it's mostly just, like, every DJ has hour, 2 hours to themselves in the booth. The set list is pretty much up to them, but you have to play, like, around 6 songs an hour that the radio station has selected on a playlist. So you can play whatever music you want, but you have to make sure you have 6 songs that they want, which kind of makes sense. Pretty much responsible for, like, running ads every 15 minutes. But besides that, you can just talk a little about the music you're playing, you know, say what's up to your listeners, talk about the weather, you know, whatever people on the radio do.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of different basement shows around New Brunswick and seen a bunch of different local bands. They're really fun. A lot of the bands locally are, like, amazing, so it's awesome to, like, see, like, talent that's so close by. I've also played at, I live in Demorest Hall, which is where we are right now, and we have, like, these coffee houses in the basement where, like, a lot of local bands come, and I've actually played a bunch of times, so that's, like, fun to just, like, kind of perform in my own, like, home.
If you leave me, I'll never make it alone. Believe me when I tell you, I'll never make it alone. Oh, darling.
I'm really grateful for the music scene here. There's a lot of different ways to perform and watch other performers. I've been to basement shows, like, at people's houses, and I've also seen different open mics, like, at Hidden Grounds, which is...
Yeah. I've been to a bunch of basement shows. They're pretty fun. Some of the bands are really, really good. Like, there's definitely some potential here in New Brunswick.
But my involvement on campus, I play in a lot of my classes with another girl because I mainly play guitar and I don't sing that much, so she's my singer. And we try and, like, get involved on campuses and play at, like, different events, and our goal for next semester is to play at multiple college campuses.
Oh yeah. Usually love sleeping all alone. This time around, bring a friend with you. We ain't really gonna sleep at all. You ain't gonna catch me with the sneak pictures.
With this project, we aim to discuss how music directly affects an individual's college experience, both socially and academically. In Oliver Sacks's piece, Musicophilia, he discusses how he has a tendency to fall in love with a certain artist and ends up playing their music over and over, almost exclusively, for weeks or even months, until it is replaced with something else. Similarly, Bob Dylan was greatly influenced by his favorite artist, Woody Guthrie, which he explains in his autobiography, Chronicles, Volume 1. Not only did he love listening to Guthrie's music, but he also performed Guthrie's songs. Guthrie had an obvious influence on Dylan's sound. We asked students if they had similar experiences in their own life. How did their favorite artists influence them?
They kind of influence how you dress. Like, I know, like, me and my friends always listen to, like, kind of like SoundCloud rap, and, like, so that kind of influences us to dress differently. You know, it's like a lot of streetwear, or, like, maybe, like, some styles that you wouldn't normally expect people to wear. So I think it definitely influences that. And just in terms of, like, the other music you listen to, because if you listen to one artist and they kind of sound like another artist, then you're going to like that one, you know what I mean? Especially if they're friends, then you're just going to automatically be drawn to the other artist.
Definitely. My biggest influence is Amy Winehouse, like in my own style of writing and song. Just because I like her, like I'm a low alto and like we have similar ranges, so I know like she's someone I can kind of like look up to as a vocalist, and kind of like emulate.
I think that somewhat my favorite artists have influence on when I perform in the music that I produce. For instance, Selena Gomez is like my favorite artist ever, and it's not just like her music, it's her personality and herself as an artist. So I tend to like drift towards that type of music and like her messages that she puts into her music, and I make them in my music. But there's also different styles of artists that I really like. So City and Color is a band that I love, and I play a lot of them, and I think that translates into the music I produce too.
I guess I definitely do go through like phases of artists. Like I'll be super obsessed with like the way that one particular artist is, and I'll let that affect like what I listen to. Like I know I was super into Amy Winehouse for a really long time, and from that I got into like more modern jazz artists like Hiatus Kaiyote and like Snarky Puppy, things like that.
Like I know when I have my show and like an album's come out recently by my favorite artist, for example, like Lil Uzi Vert, one of my favorite artists just dropped an album. So on the show, almost like subconsciously, I'm always just falling into like playing Uzi. Like throughout the course of the show, I'll play maybe like 4 or 5 songs from him or from his album, which is definitely not the norm because I usually only play like 2 songs from like an artist at most. But it's almost just like I bump them so much like outside of the radio that when I'm on the radio, it just kind of happens that I play them a lot.
Sure, I go through phases with artists, and it's mainly based on who I'm around or what kind of moods I'm in. So like, for instance, my one friend loves Taylor Swift, so when I was with her, I like listened to a lot of her, and then I went home and like went through a whole Taylor Swift phase, and then that faded out really quick.
WhenMentalHealth.com points out that, quote, throughout history, people with common goals, ideas, and beliefs have bonded together, and the music of this subculture is an important rallying point for them and often expresses their beliefs, end quote. A study entitled The Power of Music, Its Impact on the Intellectual, Social, and Personal Development of Children and Young People found that, quote, of 84 members of a college choral society, 87% indicated that they had benefited socially, 75% emotionally, and 49% spiritually. Meeting new people, feeling more positive, and being uplifted spiritually were all referred to. End quote. While interviewing Christina Ferrucci, we found that her experience with the Livingston Theater Company aligned closely with these concepts.
Yeah, I'm involved with the Livingston Theater Company. I've done 3 main stage shows with them, and I'm currently working on my 4th. Godspell opens February 15 at the Livingston Student Center, which is really exciting. We are completely student run, funded by, student allegations, RUSA, all that, and we literally build everything up, like, from the ground. Like, we literally build our stage in the student center, we buy our own costumes, we do everything on our own, and they turn out awesome. And it's a really, like, fun opportunity for people who aren't necessarily, like, music majors or theater majors, but just, like, really love performing. And so I'm able to, like, keep up with that, which is fun. Well, the fact that I could be so involved with musical theater on one campus and then come here and, like, be immersed in, like, the New Brunswick basement scene and, like, the grunge music, and then, like, it's a totally different, like, take on it, which is really cool. And I know, like, New Brunswick actually has a really big, like, jazz presence, like a fusion, like a jazz type of influence in their basement music, which is cool too. So it's kind of like just a mix of everything, which is awesome. You could find whatever you want.
According to a study at the University of Wales Institute in Cardiff, United Kingdom, researchers looked at participants' capacity to memorize information. The participants were told to memorize a list of letters in order. The students were tested after studying in complete silence, music they liked, and music they didn't like, among other sounds. The study found that participants performed worse while listening to music, regardless of whether they liked that music, and they did best in the quiet or completely silent environment. We asked students, do you listen to music when you study? If so, what type of music? Does it have words? Do you feel as though you perform better with listening to music or not?
I get so into songs that I feel like it's a distraction when I study. Sometimes I'll put on classical music, but I feel like I'll zone out even with that on. But Yeah, so either classical music or nothing. I can't listen to like music that I really enjoy when I'm studying because I'll just start singing it.
I try to listen to music when I study, but like I get too into like music when I listen to it, so they have to be separate things. I'm also really bad at studying, so I usually don't. I feel like I'm just like too all over the place to like listen to music while I study. Like they're two separate activities for me.
I always want to listen to music when I'm studying because I see like everyone else doing it, but I get really distracted and like I want to jam to the music. So if I do put on music, it has to be instrumental and it has to be music that I've never heard before. Even if like I know the acoustic instrumental, I can't listen to it because I'll get too into it.
According to a differing study published at seattlepie.com, quote, sometimes soothing music or classical music can help a student focus. One British study claims listening to Mozart for 10 minutes produced a Mozart effect, where test takers' IQ scores went up 8 or 9 points. A Bulgarian psychologist employed the method of playing Baroque-era music, which plays at a tempo of 60 beats per minute, to help students learn foreign languages. After the 30-day course, the average retention rate per student was 92%. Even 4 years later, when students had not reviewed the material, most remembered the foreign language lesson, end quote.
I think when I'm studying, I for sure listen to different music because I predominantly listen to like rap or like maybe like alt rock or soul or something like that, but I don't really find that conducive to studying. So I usually just put on like maybe like Moonlight Sonata by like Beethoven or like Tchaikovsky or Dvorak, like New World Symphony, like some classical music, because I find that I can kind of like lose myself in the music a little more and it makes it a little easier to study. And in terms
Aram Sinreich noticed that 3 main types of music distribution were a la carte downloads, webcasting, and streaming. In his article, Slicing the Pie, The Search for an Equitable Recorded Music Economy, Sinreich goes into heavy detail of the rights and revenue of each source of distribution. We asked students, what would you say is the main source from where you listen to your music?
I use Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Apple Music. I like to diversify it, just so like if one platform has one artist and the other doesn't, I can listen to everything.
Yeah, I would say most of my music comes from Apple Music. You know, I used to really be into like pirating. I don't know, like I think a lot of us did like torrenting music, all that. But I think streaming really changed the game, really made that kind of obsolete. And in terms of records, only time I ever really buy physical records if it's like one of my favorite artists, because like there's not really a point in spending $13 on a disc anymore just to have it sit there. But like if it's my real favorite artist, then I'm gonna buy the record just so they can have that money.
I'm definitely a Spotify person. I'm a big fan of like the playlist they curate for you and like the daily mixes and like New Music Fridays. Like that's how I find all my new music, other than like, you know, asking people. But Spotify always knows what I want.
I usually just use Spotify. Sometimes I do still use Pandora, which is like I know ancient around here, but I still like it. And I do listen to old records that like I have at my house, but I haven't bought a new record or CD in a very long time. Girls on a budget.
I have one song on Spotify right now. It's like one of my originals. It's called Riverside, and it was really easy to put on Spotify. I don't think I get many listens, so if you want, Christina Ferrucci, Riverside, you can look it up. But you could definitely hear like my Beatles and Amy Winehouse like influence in it, because the song is like literally influenced directly from my favorite Beatles song, Oh Darling, so you could like hear that, you know.
But don't you wanna go down with me? Flow, 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 nice and easy. You don't have to be alone as the current goes.
As we can see, music has changed immensely since 1948 when WRSU first got its start. No longer do students spend their money on records and CDs, but that most certainly does not mean they have stopped listening. What remains clearly unchanging is the importance of music on the lives of students. We asked students if they feel music has influenced their college experience.
I think it definitely influences me as a student, just because I'm always listening to music, you know. Even when I'm walking 2 minutes from my house to the bus stop, I'll put my headphones in and listen to a track. So I think it definitely influences me just because, like, everything I see going around campus and all that, I'm always listening to music, so it kind of just, like, almost narrates my experience as a student.
I think, yeah, I do think music shapes my experience here. I feel like, and with like different parts of your life, I feel like you associate with different like songs and memories, and I feel like different memories are attached to music a lot. So I do think it does play a big role in that.
I'd say music is like one of my biggest passions, like in life in general. So I knew when I came to Rutgers that was like my biggest priority, to kind of like find a way to like kind of involve it in my life, like in college too. And I'm happy I found, like, I live in Denver, so I was able to like kind of partake in like the basement shows and like meet a lot of musicians around College Ave. And the fact that I do LTC, I met a lot of like musical theater, like, you know, musicians and people interested in that. So I think like Rutgers has a huge musical community in any kind of genre spectrum, whatever you're looking for, and it's like awesome that I was able to like kind of find my way through it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting culture here, and I'm excited to learn more.